and today's episode is about control, what makes it good and bad. But before I start and explain this video, I'll be discussing the good things about the story, gameplay, as well as the graphics, and then I will single out the bad things in those same aspects. After all that, I will pick the very best part of the game and one very worst part of it. So make sure you stick around for it, okay? Okay, let's start with the good parts. The story. The story is compelling. It's good and it's weird. It's about Jessie Faden fighting her long-lost brother that was kidnapped by the FBC, or Federal Bureau of Control, an association that handles the supernatural kind of things. Things that are not ghosts, rather scientific anomalies. So you guys are asking me now, was I hooked? At first, not much. But as I went deeper to the story, like 2 to 4 hours deeper, I was pulled in it like an object being pulled by Jessie Faden using her skill launch. Because one of the most brilliant thing that this game did is its game world. So, because I was so interested in anything and everything about the FBC, I read, watched, and listened to every collectible I could get simply for the reason that the details from the big ones to the small ones is very unique, rich, and interesting. Since the setting of this game is inside the mysterious building of the FBC, the secrets here is countless. Just like any government association, the FBC has a lot of secrets and the game made me wanna know it all. One of the things I love about the story is its narrative. Not only for the main story but as well as the side contents and characters. For example, the mission to collect all objects of power, which you'll understand what are these when you play the game, by the way. Collecting these so-called objects of power, or OOP, gave me a sense of fulfillment because I learned about each one of their backstories, which are great stories to know about. This is just one of the reasons why Control has a rich story. I also like the personality of the characters because each of them is unique. There are characters which you'll be intrigued, or enjoy, or be pissed off, and all of these emotions towards the game means Remedy Entertainment did a great job for the story of this game. Now let's go to the gameplay. The combat is top notch. Honestly, tell me who doesn't like having powers such as levitation, telekinesis, mind control, and a handgun that transforms into a variety of modes, killing creepy monsters. And this is my favorite thing, pulling the grenade or the rockets that was thrown at me and throwing it back to them. I know I'm into these things, are you? Because Control have done it brilliantly. Now, if you are indeed into those things on what I have just said, then you're in for a big treat. If I was the game director, and when it comes to the gameplay, do I have anything to add? Yes, a very small bit, but we'll talk about that later. However, combat-wise, I find this game complete. You only have one weapon and it's a handgun. Although, the game surprises you later on because that handgun can be changed into rifle, sniper, shotgun, and a lot more. But you are only limited to 2 modes and you need to change one with the other if the situation needs a different kind of gun with the ones that you already have. Because you really need to strategize what gun are you gonna use, what mods are you gonna apply in them, and in you. Oh, what's that? I didn't mention anything about the mods. I'm sorry. Mods are modifications you can apply to your gun and yourself. You are automatically unlocked with 1 mod per gun and you need to progress with the game to unlock more of these. Mods have their different tiers, so the higher you get, the better. Now are you happy? Okay, good. We can now move forward to the gameplay loop. The main loop of this game is honestly doesn't feel like a loop for the reason that the game made me feel that every time I progress, something is new. New skill, new place, or new kind of mission, or all of them all together. Which is great, simply because most games can simply do this. So, they make the actual loop amazing, which is great. Exhibit A, Death Stranding. Nevertheless, Control managed to give me new things every time, while maintaining my interest still picked on what I currently have. Then ooh, new stuff. Why do I feel like there's a but coming? No, not that but, because there is. But this game has an actual loop, and that is its side contents and missions. And it's these side missions that suddenly appears out of nowhere that you need to save someone else, or kill some creatures, or destroy some portal looking things. It's really just up to you whether you wanna do it or not, but later on that. For the difficulty level, I know you're gonna ask me, Player X, is it hard? No. Just don't think it will be a walk in the park though. Like for example, the game My Name is Mayo, where you will be just pressing some buttons and then you'll get the platinum. Because I died a lot of times with the bosses, which is surprisingly just optional side missions. You still have to earn being strong, because you'll be a weak ass Jessie Faden in the start. Although, when you begin to upgrade yourself and your guns and have the correct mods, That's where it'll be mostly easy, except for the bosses which will be really hard. Even so, you just need to adjust your mods for each of these bosses so you can beat them. Now let me ask you, do you mostly replay games? Because I don't really do. Not after a year or more, yet this game has so much replay value that I can play it again in maybe 3 to 6 months if I'm not addicted to The Last of Us Part 2, The Ghost of Tsushima, or Cyberpunk by then. Because overall, the gameplay is really enjoyable. That you'll wanna play it again just to have fun with the skills and the guns and the missions. Sadly, it doesn't have any new Game Plus modes, although it does have a DLC. One is already released and the other is still on development. And that concludes it for the gameplay. We are now moving forward to the graphics. The graphics of this game is at a level that it is good enough, but not enough to amaze me. I played this game on PS4 Pro, so it ran on 30 FPS with moderate looking graphics. Somehow, what I liked about this is the way they defined the graphics so that it gives off this very creepy vibe but not so scary tone. The unique part about this is there is a footage collectibles inside the game. And these footages are real person videos. They are not CGI at all. These real person videos were edited a bit so that it has this old footage effect, and for me, it really clicked the way they did it because it gave me some sort of realism on those parts which I really appreciate in games. One thing that I also noticed is that every object in this game world is pretty much destructible. You can pull them and throw it to the enemy using the skill launch, or you can use any other skill that has a force effect and it will be destroyed. Or just shoot the object and you can really see the way the object cracks and be destroyed. And just like what I said, I'm a fan of realism. Now that I've said what are the good in this game, let me tell you what makes it bad. So let's start. Now for the story. As I have said before, the story is really compelling. Yet, what makes it bad is... Spoiler alert on expectations about the ending. If you wanna avoid it, skip to the 7:28 mark. After you finish the game, you'll ask yourself, is that the ending? Because the game feels like it's really setting us up for this big ending, like clash with the big boss. Sadly, there isn't really any. There's a reveal or realization, but it's not the boss fight I was looking for. I really wanted more for the end, but hey, maybe not all games should have big climax boss battles. All of the characters wasn't really tackled as well, which I wish what happened to them was showed or discussed more in the story. Maybe it's just a setup for Control 2, or maybe their fate is in the DLCs, but for me, I wish it was in the main game. The gameplay. Earlier, I mentioned something about the gameplay loop of the side content. For me, this is just very tedious, and honestly, if I wasn't hunting down the platinum trophy, I wouldn't bother doing it at all because the rewards aren't really worth it. Then there comes the upgrades of the guns. That has a variety of customizations. For most of them, I didn't really feel like my gun was upgraded at all. And for the customization of our character Jesse Faden, we have like 5 upgradable traits, and these are Health, Energy, which is used in everything that uses Jesse's skills, Launch, aka Telekinesis, Shield, and Seize, aka Mind Control. And they are upgradable. Some may increase the power of the skill, the duration of the skill, or even just your health or energy. However, some of those skills, I didn't really feel like I was indeed upgraded, except for Launch and Health, where I really felt the huge boost once I maxed it. Especially when the encounter is with the boss, where I need a lot of health and strong damage. But hey, maybe guys, that's just me. It's really not a big factor if you really think about it. And that concludes it for the gameplay. Lastly, the graphics. The worst thing about the graphics is its performance on PS4 Pro. Simply because whenever I pause the game, it will drop the frame rate for like 2 to 4 seconds, which feels like an eternity because the frame rate is almost at zero. Like, can you imagine how irritating that is? Every time I pause the game, it's too long to get back to normal. That is disappointing given that this game was released at 2019 and that bug is still not fixed for the PS4 version. Another graphics disappointment for me was the rendering. Sometimes, after loading, the first 5 to 10 seconds of you playing, you can actually see the game world still rendering while you are playing, so those things really decreases the great experience that this game is giving. For the colors of the graphics, I just noticed that this game is like somewhat too bright, or too red, or too dark, which makes my eyes feel tired. But wait a minute, this one is just based on my eyes, and it could be different for your eyes, or his eyes, or her eyes, or their eyes. Nonetheless, it's just a minimal issue for me, and it's not so often. There are just certain locations in the game that are like that. Now I have told you the good things and the bad things that makes this game. I will now pick one best and one worst for the game. For Control's best, I'd say the storytelling and the game world building. I know I only said one, but in this case, you really cannot say storytelling is good and not include the world building because the world building depends on the storytelling. And what about the worst thing you say? Okay, let's go to the worst. Well, it's obvious and maybe it's just for the PS4, and that is its graphics performance, especially the FPS drop whenever I pause the game. That concludes my review. I've told you the good things and the bad things. I even picked out the best and the worst. Still, at the end of the day, it's up to you to buy this game. What are your opinions? Do you agree with what I just said? Please comment it down below and give a like or a dislike if you didn't like what I said. And please subscribe. Thank you, gamers.